Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. What I have here today is another different brand. This is Veadons, which is unashamedly a Chinese brand, as you can see there from the box, which is pretty basic, and this was courtesy of the official store on AliExpress. I agreed to review this, so here it is, but straight up I will say that this does leave quite a bit to be desired. So let's have a look inside. That is the particular model on feature today. So this is the Veadons Chronograph men's watch. The model designation is WD1001. It's actually a little bit unclear to me exactly how much this is meant to retail for. It's not listed on Amazon USA, but when comparing similar prices between Amazon and AliExpress, this probably, I estimate, would list for around 50 USD, but realistically you get this for considerably less in a Chinese retailer like AliExpress. So this is obviously a quartz chronograph movement with date, as you can see already, but I don't have any other further information on this movement. It's presumably Chinese made. I think very highly likely to be Chinese origin, being the company that it is. It is a 41mm stainless steel PVD case, 12mm thick, with 20mm lug width, and you know that black PVD does make it a bit difficult for me to demonstrate that, but you could swap that out for third-party or NATO straps as you choose. It does have a screw-in case back, as you can see. I've left a sticker on for the moment, but you know, there we have that case back with some basic printing on it. But it doesn't have. It has fairly standard buttons. It does not have a screw-down crown. 30-meter water rating, which appropriately expected with those buttons. So you know, this is not a waterproof, you know, like a swim-resistant watch, for example. It does have a fairly plain black dial. You know, nothing much to say about that. But those sub-dials do have concentric circle decoration on them, or texture at least. The lume is fairly standard. I've tested it. It's not fantastic, but it works. It works better than some of the Invictus that I have, for example. Mineral glass, basic mineral glass. The band, of course, is also PVD, stainless steel like the case. It is a fairly light steel. This feels even lighter than the Invicta bands that I have. So I think it's probably, you know, not quite surgical grade. I expect they haven't advertised it as such. But surprisingly, if you take a look at the end links here, if I can demonstrate that those end links are actually solid. I have taken those spring bars out, and the end links are actually solid pieces. They're not hollow pressed metal. And these bracelet links, somewhat surprisingly as well, if I show you a link that I've taken out, is actually multi-link. If you can see that piece there, it actually has a separate piece. So 5 pieces per link, if you will. You know how that's counted. Okay, so you know what has been, I guess what did I like about this? What's the positive I can mention? I think the PVD is pretty well done. You know, it's not bad at all. It's very uniform. It feels fairly pleasant. I think the chronograph has a very interesting implementation, which I haven't seen before. So you can see it's actually a central seconds, and then the chronograph has a second counter at the 6 o'clock, the minute counter at the 9 o'clock, and then a 1/10 second counter, which goes around once every 2 seconds at the 12 o'clock position. So if I start the chronograph, you can see that that's going one round. That 12 o'clock sub-dial is going 1 round every 2 seconds. And if I stop it, you can read off a 1/10 second reading of it. The other thing that's interesting, I'll let that go through to 60 seconds, but you'll see that this dial, the 12 o'clock sub-dial, will stop counting after 60 seconds, but if you press the split button or the stop button, you'll still get a 1/10 second reading. So that's an interesting implementation which I haven't seen before, and I think presumably that's to have a power conserving feature. You know, you don't run that beyond the first 60 seconds. Okay, what has not been so good? I think the fit and finish is quite flawed. You know, this crown, if I take it out, it's very loose, the adjustment. It's almost, you know, like it's looser than my son's you know, kid's watch, really. It's very you know, that crown also wobbles a bit, so the fit is not quite there. I guess the case back is pretty solid feeling, but you know, this bracelet has a very loose feeling, and you know, when I push the pins out, it also has pretty easy to damage pins. So that leaves a lot to be desired. I think the actual finishing, the class as well, I will say, is not the finest. You know, that doesn't click in. You know, very, see, it's a bit hard on one side to actually snap it in. In fact, I'm having trouble right now. There you go. So it's inconsistent, and it has fallen out by itself as well. So, you know, finishing, you know, not really up there, but what do you expect, you know, for a well below 50 USD watch? In fact, closer to half that price, I think, on the Chinese retailer. It's probably lower grade material. They haven't stated this is surgical grade stainless steel, so you know, I think it's probably reasonable to assume that it's lower grade material. And interestingly, the loom application, if you look at the dial, they've actually loomed, so that all the hour markers, the hour and minute hands, and also the sub dials on the 12 and the 9 o'clock position, but not the 6 o'clock. That red one is not loomed. That does not glow in the dark. So that's a bit strange to choose to make that second hand invisible in the dark when you're going to loom the rest. Okay, so and then I'll just demonstrate the chronograph now. So you can see it's counted past 1 minute, but that 12 o'clock sub-dial has stopped moving. But if you look at the split time, see that? Okay, let's get that going again. It actually gives a 1/10 reading when you do the split, and it also gives a 1/10 reading when you stop it. All right, so that's interesting power conserving feature, I think. And I'm just going to reset the whole thing now, and it's counting backwards to 0. Okay, so that's pretty much it. You know, the look for this particular watch. I think the company, at least I can say, it is unpretentious. You know, it's straight up. You know, it's a Chinese company. You know, the printing at the back here, the printing on the box, you know, they're not hiding anything. So, you know, this particular piece, I think ultimately is not recommendable, but I look forward to seeing automatic pieces that they produce and reviewing them and getting a feel of how good they are. So there we have it. Hope that has been an informative look, at least, at a company that I haven't covered before. Thank you to Veadons for making this watch available for the review. Thank you guys for watching this far. As always, subscribe if you want to keep in touch, and I will see you guys next time.